maybe that's why personal development books are flying off the shelves. We get it. We understand that we're in a quandary.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Alpha Drop. I'm Rachel Buchanan.
And I'm Jacki Roach, and we are creating conscious conversations.
And today we are talking about what are you holding on to? This is a really big topic. Where do you think we should begin?
I don't know. I got a lot of baggage still. Still holding on to a lot of things over on this end, but letting go one by one.
Yeah. Well, I know we had talked about briefly last time we chatted about how it was really interesting how both of us have had a circumstance of realizing that we were holding on to like emotions in our body that led to some sort of major physical breakdown that led to like this kind of new awakening to where we are now.
Yeah. And I think it's interesting because the more you get in the personal development realm and start communicating with these people, I started to really notice a lot of like trends, and people had, like you said, a lot of people had an autoimmune disorder, or they were suddenly, pregnant, and they had to really think about their body and be more conscious about the food they're putting in or whatever. So it really does seem like a lot of people hit some type of wall that really forces them to change. In the tarot, we would call that the tower moment, where things are breaking down, whether you like it or not.
Right. I mean, our bodies just hold on to so much information, and whether that's past trauma, wisdom. I mean, I believe fully that our body has the ability to heal itself on all levels. I mean, we are constantly recreating new cells, regenerating organs. So really, we can rebuild our body if we just knew how to do it in a like thought out, processed way.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. And I think, well, you are an acupuncturist, and I think this is so fascinating because I recently, like in the last 6 months, maybe got more serious about Ayurveda and like what you eat and how it affects all your different organs. And I know that's not exactly the same, but you've talked about organs storing and really being symptomatic of emotional issues and traumas and things like that. So
I know whenever I went to school, the percentage was 80%, that 80% of physical disease is caused by emotional or energetic foundation. So,
yes.
Whatever you're going through, and really, if you think about it, from a co-creation reality standpoint, even if you stub your toe, then that experience is brought to you because of maybe a lesson that needs to be brought into your awareness. So really, it's probably more like 100% of whether it's a current underlying something or something that needs to be brought to your attention. But, I think that so much of our body is holding these different stories and lessons and past traumas that we may have not had any awareness to until it's like your body is just this beacon. And at some point, if you suppress and suppress and suppress and suppress, at some point your body is going to say like, hello, it's like the oil light, and the car is going to break down until you actually stop and change the oil.
I had a really bad anxious tick where I would bite the inside of my mouth all the time. Like a lot of people do this. And I'd gone to the dentist, and he asked me, he goes, do you bite the inside of your mouth a lot? And I said, yeah. And he goes, that's our number one reason for mouth cancer. So like, because you're making your cells regenerate constantly and so much that it can, and I mean, I still kind of do it, but I'm way more conscious of it. And I mean, that's like the whole point. Once you become aware of something, it's hard to not be conscious of it
Mhm.
without feeling like I'm definitely ignoring something right now.
Right,
Um,
right. Well, I think that there's so many, my immediate thought whenever you said that, like, I bite the inside of my mouth is kind of like my feeling was, well, in what ways are you not speaking your truth? Like, in what ways are you biting your tongue almost? And, whether that rings true for you or not, I think that we actually have the ability to code whatever's going on if we can just like talk to our bodies and figure it out. There's a great book that actually set me on the path to wanting to work with this like mind body healing connection, which is an oldie but goodie book. Louise Hay's You Can Heal Your Life. And she goes through these different ailments and kind of talks about, okay, well, this is what stubbing your toe means, and here's an affirmation for that. And it's kind of just gives you very basic, if you have this, then this is the energetic and emotional component, and then here's an affirmation for it. And I think it's interesting to at least look at what the emotional energetic thing is. For me, having an affirmation for it wasn't as helpful because I wasn't really sure how to use the affirmations, because I wasn't like aligning my reality with the affirmation. Because we talked about last time, like, if you're just saying something to say it, until you actually have that as part of your understanding and your reality, and you've made peace with it, and you've risen your vibration to that level, it's kind of a waste of time. So at that time, I hadn't done the work to be able to really get the most out of the affirmation. So, I think that just having the awareness of that makes you think, okay, well, in what ways, maybe, like, let's just say that, biting the inside of your cheek is like holding something back. It's just interesting to think, like, okay, well, in what ways have I not been speaking my truth? Or have I not been having conversations that I need to have? Or have I not said something to myself that needs to be said? Or, just it's good to be like thinking about those kinds of things and kind of digging deeper into the underlying cause, whether you have an affirmation to balance that out or not. We can probably come up with our own affirmations at that point, once we know like what was the actual trigger.
I think that's a great point too. One of the biggest lessons I've had this whole time is that the lesson, you have to repeat it. I've had to repeat a couple lessons multiple times before it would really sink in. I mean, even to the point where I've looked at old journals of mine where like 10 years ago, I'll reread it and I'll be like, damn, young Jackie was so woke. Like, how did I still make so many mistakes after I was writing down this woke material? And it's like, you hear it and then you have to apply it. You have to apply your knowledge. That's how you gain wisdom. That's how you, like you said, embody it. And too many people, I think, are really hard on themselves for not getting the lesson and not, it's in getting in a negative self-talk or a negative loop about not getting the lesson is just not going to help,
Yeah. You got to let go of the guilt shame game. That's not going to be serving you at all. It's like, okay, that's from the past. We can go and heal that when needed, but yeah, you just have to embrace where you are and move forward in the best positive way that you can, because there's like, is it useful to be dwelling on the pain and shame of the past? No, just like move forward.
Well, and honestly, I mean, going back to our topic here of, what are you holding on to? I don't think it's uncommon for people to hold on to shame and guilt. It's one of the reasons we prioritize our own bodies absolutely last, because we feel that everybody else and everything else should get our attention before we take care of our own self, especially for moms and people that have dependents on them. It's incredibly difficult to just be like, no, I need my time. Sorry, I'm just not going to be available.
Right. I do love the idea of like, I love you starts with I. And unless you really truly love yourself, I mean, it's such a basic concept, but people shouldn't feel guilty for filling their cup up first and having that completely overabundance of appreciation and joy and acceptance for their being, because if they can't love themselves, they can't really extend that olive branch of love to other people and be the life raft for other people that just need love and appreciation, or just to be able to like send it out. So if you aren't going to be full of yourself, then what else should you be full of?
Maybe that's why personal development books are flying off the shelves. We get it. We understand that we're in a quandary.
I love the idea of blissipline. Like we were just talking about this the other day is, following your bliss and, following your joy. What does it actually mean to like create an entire day based on activities that bring you joy? And like my girls, since I've really rededicated, I mean, I've been meditating for 10, 15 years, but now that I've really recommitted to my practice and doing my journaling and the things that I need to do, like they know if my door is closed and I'm doing another meditation for the day, like don't interrupt mama because that's her time. And it just makes me just a more well-rounded, able to come up and show up as the person that I was supposed to be here. And that's my time. It's kind of like, whenever I was doing yoga at the house, the same thing. It's like, oh, mama's on the mat. Don't interrupt mama on the mat, because it's just that's the time. But it's really important for the kids to be able to see that as an example of, okay, they're just taking care of themselves. We're going for a run. We're going for hikes. We're spending time in nature. We're drinking the water. We're doing all the things or whatever, because different activities are going to bring you joy. But just these like having your things that you do and having your kids witness that and being a part of it too. It doesn't always have to not include them.
And you're showing them how to set boundaries, which is one of the most rampant inabilities most of us have, is setting boundaries. So
I know sometimes I worry that I'm going to be like the mean mama on the block, because like maybe it's because I'm from the South. I expect so much of my kids, but I'm like, no, it's just manners. Like couches in my house, couches aren't meant to be jumped on. They're meant to be sat on, I'm like, no, I'm sorry. That's not acceptable.
Well, when I was growing up, my grandpa would say, tables are for glasses, not for asses. So, a little different in my household, but
same. Oh my gosh. I remember cutting cutting some food whenever I was a kid, using my fork. I don't even know what I was doing. I was using the fork and the knife in an incorrect way. And my grandmother said that she said, you were raised in a barn. You weren't bred well. And I was like, oh, I wasn't bred well. I was like 9.
You don't come from pure stock. Sorry. Try again.
I love these just like funny memories. And, I don't know, going back to like, what are we holding on to? I love thinking about those funny stories that you look back at your family, your parents and grandparents, people that have passed, and like these joyful moments that are, that are given to you. It makes you just realize that they're never far away from you. One of my closest friends just lost her grandmother, and I remember whenever my grandmother passed away, and we were very, very close. And I did have this sense that she was really close to me for the first few days after she actually died. I just felt like she was right with me. And I heard a quote just not that long ago, a few weeks ago, that grief is love that's looking for a home. And I thought that's just like so sweet, because so many of us, so in Chinese medicine, the lungs actually hold grief. And I used to see a lot of people in the fall, which energetically is the time of letting go and relief and like release, and the time to be like cleansing, purging, letting go of the things that you don't need anymore. And a lot of times people would have these reoccurring pneumonia symptoms, these lung problems in the fall time, which is, it's like clockwork, would happen every single year. And as an acupuncturist, it wasn't surprising, because it's, the fall is the metal element and associated with the lungs, which are also held grief. So it's really interesting until we actually deal with the emotional foundation, what's under there. It's like going deeper. And, if it is like you lost one of your parents or had some sort of traumatic grief experience, coming to terms with that, like that would be the tool, maybe not an affirmation, but okay, like my grief, it's really love looking for a house, looking for its home. Like that would be the thing, that knowing what I know now, what I would tell, my friends or patients or anything from the past, if you weren't able to process it any other way, just knowing that, I think, is really helpful.
Yeah. And I think that kind of goes along the lines with like inspiration in general. You know, you're talking about spirit coming through. And it's like you can, that grief, like you said, looking for this home, you know, that grief can inspire you to channel it somewhere, to put it somewhere. And I mean, that's why like writing has always been so helpful for me. Like I need to get things out and oftentimes read it back, and I swear I didn't just pick this up from all the books and everything, but there really is something to be said for physically writing something down, like not typing it, not recording it, actually writing it down. And even now, since I've been more mindful of, you know, what I am holding on to, and you can put it in there. It doesn't mean, and I think a lot of people, it's easy to come on and be like, you just got to let go, man. You got to let go. Just let it go. And it's like, no, okay, I'll just go do that tonight. I'm going to let it go. And I'm going to burn it on a piece of paper and it's going to be gone. And that doesn't always happen. And it's,
Right.
and I heard, you know, it was actually someone in our crowd who said to me, you know, if you're holding on to something, it may still be serving you. So don't knock it so much. Like really get into that mode of appreciation and just say like, and you can actually start to see like, oh, I'm using this somehow. I'm holding on to this because I'm getting something out of it. And then you can say like, can I provide that for myself?
Mm-hmm.
Or am I going to keep getting it from this external source that, you know,
Mm-hmm.
every couple weeks makes me come right back to this question?
Right. Exactly.
We were talking about blissipline. I used to go into thinking blissipline would mean I'm going to like doing this, but actually I'm going to like how I feel after it's done. I find it's better for me to, like when I think of working out, I don't think of like actually working out. I think of an hour later when I just feel strong and I feel good. Like that's the blissipline. Doing the hard work is worth the feeling that you get from it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. How many times have I like laid in bed past my alarm that wakes me up in the morning? I'm like, oh, I really don't want to get up, but I know that if I do my meditation, like this morning, I did my meditation in bed, and I was like, wasn't so great. I'm gonna have to redo that because I like to do my spiritual writing in the morning. Like that, I know that getting up, doing my writing first thing in the morning empties my mind out, and then I can go to the meditation. So like never again will I just be like, maybe I'll just try a different like order. I know it works, so we should just like get up and
I
do the
feel like
thing.
there's nothing worse for me these days than being like, I'm going to have to redo that meditation. Like it makes me like, oh, like, I don't know. It's just like one of those base things where I'm like, how did you mess up meditation? Like,
There isn't any I mean there isn't any messing up for sure, but I feel like I have like what I love about the style of meditation practice that we do is that you can be laser focused and accomplish certain things and really use it as the bridge to gap like where you are and where you want to be, and you can actually like really co-create in a really definable way that you can actually see results. So that's why I'm like, okay, yeah, I could do better on in that, because I was like half asleep and half thinking about all the things that I should have just written down first, you know?
yeah, it's interesting too. Like even just like getting physically fit, what a journey it is. You take pictures along the way and you're like, oh my God, look at how this grew or how that shrunk or whatever. And even looking back at my journal now from when I started meditating to just the leaps and bounds I've made, not only in my meditative life, but in my waking life. Like
Mm-hmm.
how I'm really slowed down now. Like I really am not overthinking all the time. I'm just the effects have been so palpable with me.
Mm-hmm. If you had somebody that came to you today and was like, I realize that I've been holding on to XYZ, what tool or what would you tell them to do?
Honestly, this literally happened today. And my suggestion was to do prime light meditation. And I feel like I have had so many experiences where I call them like thought kernels, like when I'm in the alpha drop, when I'm in the alpha brainwave space, I'm actually like, I'll just get little bubbles of like things that bothered me or things I appreciate. And they just come up like one by one.
Mm-hmm.
And what I'm amazed by every single time like something impactful happens in a meditation session, I am amazed at how easy it is to let go of something that bothered me maybe my whole life, for years, for months, and to just recognize how unconsciously I had been living my life before I committed to a meditative practice.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I think that you and I both have had a really similar experience with the reason that we decided to both get certified in this one style of meditation is because we could actually go in the past and heal past traumas. And, it actually could be things that you don't even really realize that you're holding on to that are affecting your relationships, with others, your relationships with yourself. And it's just so cool that you can be so specific about what it is that you're looking to do, and really go and communicate with your past 3-year-old self and assure them of exactly why they're here, and get information from them and counsel them, and let them know that they can come and visit you anytime. And there's this amazing process that you can go through. And I was like, yeah, I want to be able to learn that. So I have lots of tools in my tool belt, and that's going to be my next one.
Yeah. And it's even, I think the act of letting go so quickly when those things do come up, it actually makes you realize, well, it's helped me realize in my present life, like when dramatic things start happening, I'm already like, I don't want to wait 30 years to release this. So I'm going to release it tonight before I go to bed, like whatever this drama was during the day.
Yeah.
And just even bringing it back to, you suggested a book, so I'll suggest one, but The Body Keeps the Score by Dr. Bessel van der Kolk. That's just, he literally talks about like post-traumatic stress and like traumatic patients and stuff like that. It's amazing how it really does get stored in your tissues and in your muscles. And this is also why it's so important that deep tissue massages and acupuncture and all these other
Mm-hmm.
new age modalities, which is a hilarious term that these are called new age when they're the oldest medicines on this planet.
Well, they're all based off of this, like, consciousness medicine, really. All of this, like, new age stuff is not, it's just different modalities to correct, a base, kind of similar things. I'm actually certified in orthobionomy, which is another type of, body work. But what's interesting about what you just said is, like, let's say I have a shoulder injury. So I did a lot of work with my shoulder. You can actually pinpoint where you have a physical pain. You can pinpoint where the actual energetic or emotional imbalance is in that physical point. And your body, there's a way for your body to tell the practitioner where it is, like where the actual physical pain occurred. And there's this exercising we do, and it actually sends a signal to your brain that says, okay, now's the time to release that emotional, energetic, like, imbalance that occurred. Like, I know I hurt my shoulder doing a yoga, maneuver, or I was getting an assist. And so it was just really interesting that they could actually pinpoint, okay, it's right here, and your arm was right here, and done, and it's like done.
Yeah. And think of how much of our world really is like symbols, and this means this and that, and it's so easy for people to buy into it, especially now in this time of like all the things being available. And is it a conspiracy theory? Is it not? Yet when it comes to our own bodies, we're all like, oh no, those things can't be connected. And it's like, well, actually we have like nerve endings everywhere in our nervous system and our hormones and the immune system, like all of it, like everything we've ever known about. But one of the biggest like ancestral lineage chains I've broken in my own life was not identifying with an illness or with a thing.
Well, I think just this whole inner conversation that you're having with yourself, and it really comes down to, self-love and self-worth, and, your inner talk. I realized about a year ago that all of my inner conversations were completely toxic, and it was no wonder that my body was breaking down. Energetically, the gallbladder deals with anger and bitterness, and that, housing of not being able to express that. And I think I really like got sick of being so angry and bitter at myself for not showing up, for letting myself get to that place, and then just like the guilt and all, all of these things. But it gotten into like just my inner talk, my inner conversations, how I was showing up as myself in every aspect of my life. So I can only, imagine it affects so many different people. We don't even realize what it is that we're saying to ourselves. And if we are talking, we would never allow, like if I heard you say like some of the nasty things that I would say in my head about myself, I'd be like, Jacki, you're not, shut the hell up. You are not, I love you. And I'm not going to let you talk to yourself that way. Like, if we had that stuff on like if we were just saying it out loud, the people around us would be like, I'm sorry, no, stop right now.
That's so true. I mean, and that's one of the reasons I have like such a strong connection with my higher self. And I'm not going to sit here and debate whether it's separate or not separate or get into the nuances of it. In my day-to-day life, if I do get into like negative self-talk, I just honestly say to myself, like, God would never talk to me like that, like ever. Like it can't be true. Fear can't be true. Anything negative can't be true. That is all the illusion. So look for the light because it's there somewhere.
Yeah, we already are. Yeah, exactly. You already are that. So there's a beautiful children's book. It was actually the first children's book that someone gave me as a gift about conversations with God. From Neil Diamond Walsh wrote it, and I don't remember the actual name of the book, but it's about this, I think like the little soul conversation with God or something like that. But it's this beautiful story about this little soul who wants to learn about, being the light. Like, what is it to be the light? And he was like, this conversation with God, God was saying, you already are the light, but you don't realize it because you're surrounded by light. There's nothing else but light. So the little soul just said, well, he basically was given the experience, the opportunity to come back to earth and experience what it would be like to not be the light. And this other little soul came and said, I will agree to go back and help you have this experience, but don't, when we are in that moment of darkness, remember that we came from the light and I'm here to help you. And I was just like, this is like it's such such a beautiful story. Yeah. And I'm like, crying, reading it to my kids.
Yeah. And right along that, there's a quote I just saw the other day and it said, faith and fear both require you to believe in something you can't see. You choose, and it's like, it's so perfect. Well, Rachel, it was amazing talking to you again about things that things we're holding on to, things we want to let go of, free up some space to move forward.
Absolutely. And thank you for joining me because I love you and I love talking with you. And thank you for listening to us and checking us out. If you have any questions, you can always contact us at thealphadrop@gmail.com. We'd love for you to subscribe to the channel, comment below. We're totally excited to hear your comments and questions. So feel free to reach out anytime. And until next time, peace.
Thanks for stopping by, guys. We'll see you soon.
Bye.